Hello and welcome, friends. I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to share my book haul for January. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my 2025 book challenge video, but one of my reading goals this year is to read all books I buy in the same year purchased. This will help with my longer overarching goal to read all the books in my collection and determine if they should stay or if they'll be unhauled. Next month, I'll share a video about my collection and the monumental goal that will be. I'm kind of afraid of what the number of unread books will be. Anyway, without further ado, I will start with the one book I purchased online. It's kind of heavy. So, Art and Architecture, 1950 to 1954, from Taschen. Taschen recently published this oversized book collecting highlights from the Arts and Architecture magazine from 1950 through 1954. These were prime years for mid-century architecture from pioneers including Richard Neutra, Eero Saarinen, and Charles and Ray Ames. It was such an innovative time, coinciding with a mass population shift from dense cities to the newly created suburbia. This book highlights buildings with simplified blueprints and accompanying project descriptions. Living in the Phoenix region, there are many pockets of mid-century modern architecture, as well as business signage that still exist from the 1950s and 60s. So I'm really looking forward to reading this tome. As far as I can tell, the downside of this, as well as some of the other Taschen books that I own, is the omission of an index. An index would make identifying Phoenix projects much easier. The following three books were pre-orders through my local comic book shop. The first is Sanction, written by Ray Fawkes, art by Antonio Fuso, and published by Mad Cave Studios. I pre-ordered this title because it is a thriller set in Leningrad in the last years of the Cold War. The story follows a police detective who has been handed the case of a found woman's corpse that initially appears to be an open and shut case, but in fact it isn't. This paperback collects issues 1 through 5. I read this the same day I purchased it, so I'll be including this in my January book reading challenge wrap-up next week. My second pre-order is the graphic novel Behind the Horror and Death, Nosferatu, written and drawn by Marco Fontanili. The timing of the release could not be better, given all the recent interview videos surrounding Robert Eggers' Nosferatu film that was released in late December. As the title suggests, Fontanelli writes about the silent film director F.W. Murnau's original Nosferatu film from 1922, as well as including 2 sequential art stories. I read this the same day I picked it up, so I'll include more details in my January Reads wrap-up video. My last pre-order to come in right before the end of the month is Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet, an Arthur Conan Doyle story adapted by Crystal S. Chain and art by Julien Choy. I thought the advanced manga pages I saw held a lot of promise, in particular because this story received a full color treatment. Additionally, A Study in Scarlet is the first story to feature Holmes and Watson as they become acquainted with each other. I'm not familiar with Doyle's novel, but I'll provide a plot synopsis in my January wrap-up because I've actually already finished reading this book. The next 3 books I picked up at a half-price books in Phoenix. So my first one is A Last Bookshop in London, a novel of World War II by Madeline Martin. I'm not familiar with the author nor this title. I honestly picked this up based on the title when I looked at the list of books that fulfills the 52 Book Club's 2025 Reading Challenge prompt number 28, which is a crossover book set in a shared universe. This book was published in 2021. It is a story that's set in London in mid-1939, where the main protagonist, Grace Bennet, works in a bookstore. My interest was piqued because the author writes about Grace's experience in wartime, particularly the blackouts and the air raids that occurred in London. I'm actually fascinated by wartime memoirs and history, so I'm hoping this will be an enjoyable read. This book fulfills Goodreads' Era Explorer challenge that needs to be completed by April 30th. And spoiler, I actually already finished this one, so this will also be in my wrap-up. My next one is I'll Be Gone. Well, let's get that right. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. I am addicted to true crime stories, so I'm anxious and was anxious to find a copy of McNamara books for annotating. I think my obsession with these types of stories may stem from the fact that I grew up in the same area and kind of time period of well-known serial killers, including the Zodiac Killer, the Green River Killer, and the East Area Rapist. In the last year or so, I watched a documentary about the Golden State Killer, which spotlighted McNamara's research. I'm excited to read this book. I will fulfill prompt number 39, in which the book has an epitaph. And my last book that I picked up is The Book of the Dead by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. Okay, I picked this one based on the cover and decided it was a keeper when I read on the inside flap that the murder investigation includes a tomb curse. Count me in. Anyway, I don't know anything more because I've not looked up the plot and really wanted to go in blind. That's it for my January book haul. Have you read any of these? If so, what are your thoughts? If you haven't read any, are there any that you're looking forward to hearing me review? So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and want to follow along with my reading challenge progress through this year, please consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. I also invite you to comment with your book recommendations, as I am continually seeking to broaden my reading choices. If you prefer not to comment but would like to let me know that you've watched and you stopped by, how about leaving a book icon and maybe a little heart next to it in the comments section? I'd be appreciative, as it does help with my video stats. Until next time, enjoy a good book, and please remember to buy books locally or through Bookshop, where you can support our independent booksellers. Thanks so much.